She told me she wanted a little freedom before our wedding. I replied, "Cool, I'll start with freedom from this lease." Now she wants me back, and I'm not sure I want the ring back intro. I want to try an open thing. Just for a month, she said, twirling her wine glass like we were talking about a new yoga studio. I called our landlord, drafted a lease addendum, and moved out before her trial ever started. Quick intro, I'm 29 meters, a paramedic in Columbus, Ohio, and my now ex-fiancé is 28F, a third-grade teacher. We've been together 4 years, engaged 9 months, and my ring is still sitting in a ceramic dish shaped like Ohio on her dresser. Main story, the Thursday she asked for a little freedom, I had finally gotten 2 consecutive days off after a mess of night shifts and bad calls. I picked up pastries from Bell's, grabbed a bouquet of grocery store tulips, and walked into our apartment to find Ellie in a robe, hair in a towel, and a glass of Pinot like she was getting ready for date night. It was 2:30 p.m. Hey, I said, holding up the bag, dumbly hopeful. "I got those almond croissants. We need to talk," she said. It was the kind of careful tone you use with porcupines and toddlers. My stomach flipped. "It wasn't cheating," she said. She'd been listening to a podcast about ethical non-monogamy and how modern couples reinvent commitment. She had a coworker friend group that did trivia at the stash on Fridays. They flirted around the edges. She wanted to try something structured like one date, no sleepovers, full transparency for a month, and then right back to monogamy, like Whole30, but for feelings. I stood there holding croissants like props in a play I didn't audition for and felt the dumbest part of me trying to negotiate. Maybe we could talk about what was missing? Maybe we were just stressed? Maybe a fancier date night would reboot us? That dumb part asked if she was unhappy. The smarter part noticed she didn't say she needed time with me. She wanted novelty with someone else while I kept the lights on. Who? There was a reason she said it now, 2 months out from the wedding, deposit down on a barn venue with Edison bulbs and a donut wall because her cousin did it last spring. I knew she had a group text named Friday Brains. I knew there was an Ethan in that group because I heard his name enough that I joked I should send him a 1099 when we factored him into our budget talks. He was the funny math interventionist who liked craft beer and film cameras and paid exactly $0 toward our vendors. "I can't do an open thing," I said. I put the croissants on the counter. I'm aware I sound like a basic monogamy guy. I am a basic monogamy guy. It's not a moral high ground, it's a wiring. If we're engaged, you're my person. If you want to test drive other people, keep the ring. That's it. She stared at me like I was failing a progressive pop quiz. "Aren't you curious?" "No," I said. "I'm tired." "Of me?" she said, lip tremble, and there it was, the pivot to hurt. My face must have softened because she kept going. "I love you, and I'm marrying you. I just don't want to wake up in 10 years and resent you because I never explored." I thought about how every time I strapped a stranger to a gurney, it felt like holy ground. I have curiosity, sure. It's pointed at life and death and plot twists like brain bleeds that look like migraines. "I'm not saying we cheat," she said. "We do it right. We set rules. And then we come back stronger." I set the tulips in the sink and ran water because they were wilting, and it felt like a metaphor beat me over the head. I took the ring off her finger in my mind and put it in that stupid Ohio-shaped dish. "I'm not agreeing to that," I said. "If that's what you need, then we shouldn't be engaged." Her mouth fell open like in a cartoon. "Are you breaking up with me?" "You're asking me to put our engagement on layaway while you experiment," I said. "That's breaking up with me." We took a lap around the kitchen island with words like woke prude and outdated fear and selfish and needing reassurance. She cried and said she just wanted to be honest instead of sneaking. I said I appreciated the honesty and also didn't want to be plan A with a casual plan B. She asked why men make everything about sex, and I swallowed the laugh. I said if she went on a date with someone else, it would change us whether she wanted it to or not. She said I was catastrophizing. I said I was opting out. We slept in the same bed, both on our edges, with 2 feet of blanket between us like a DMZ. The next morning, I called our landlord on my way to the station. He's a guy named Randy who runs property management for 3 blocks of walk-ups and remembers your dog's name, but not your rent due date. I told him, we're not breaking the lease. I'm moving out. I'll keep paying my half while we figure out a sublet. Could we draft something to switch me to month to month? He told me to stop by with coffee and we'd talk it through. By the time my shift ended, I talked to Randy, signed an addendum with an exit date 60 days out, and started messaging people in our building who were always asking if a one-bedroom would open. I didn't tell Ellie. I wanted paperwork before conversation because paper is the only argument that stays put. I came home at 7 a.m. and she was in our bed with my old college hoodie and the ring off, sitting in that Ohio dish exactly how I pictured it. You took the ring off, I said gently. I didn't want to pressure you, she said, which was wild given the context. She had made waffles. Like apology waffles. I signed a lease addendum, I said. I'm going to take the second bedroom at Nate's for a while. Nate's my partner on B shift, married with twin baby girls and a basement apartment he outfitted like a bunker during the first phase of the pandemic. He owed me because I took his New Year's Eve shift so he could go to Michigan with his in-laws. We can pause vendors and see if we even want the same life. She said she needed air and went on a long walk, which meant she went to call her best friend, Lila, to take my temperature in a group chat. I loved Lila. I imagined her telling Ellie, you told him you want to date. Of course, he moved out. That's reasonable. But there's also the world where Lila says I'm controlling because girls tend to protect other girls from men, even benign men. That's fair. Ellie came back in a coat, cheeks red, and said she wanted to pause the wedding. Fine, but this was a punishment. I said it was a boundary. We said the same sentence different ways until our mouths hurt. We told our parents that afternoon. My mom, who sells houses and collects ceramic roosters, said, well, better to call it off than divorce later. Her boyfriend, who wears Harley tees to church, gave me a thumbs up over FaceTime like I just hit a double. Ellie's mom cried in tight hiccups and said maybe premarital counseling would help. Ellie's dad asked me if I'd changed my mind about religion because he thinks God could fix this. Ellie drank water, stared at the sink, and sobbed from her collarbone. Nate sent me a picture of his basement with a futon and a text, "You'll hate it." Come anyway. I took a duffel bag, some scrubs, the PS5, and left my nice skillet because I didn't want to lose 2 relationships in the same week. The first night in Nate's basement, I lay under a ceiling that hummed with ductwork and listened to his babies cry, and I felt free and lonely at the same time. I didn't text Ellie. She didn't text me. The next day, she posted a picture of her coffee mug and a sunbeam on her classroom rug with the caption, "Grateful for little things," and a bunch of leaf emojis. 5 people sent it to me, like I needed to know she had sunbeams. On Friday, the stash night, I got a text from a number labeled Ethan because, yes, I'd seen it in her phone once when we were picking photos for the Save the Dates, and I have a memory like a crow. Hey man, heard you and the L are taking some space. Just wanted to say no hard feelings. Reading that text felt like sticking my hand in a toaster. We don't know each other, I replied. He sent a thumbs up. That was the whole exchange. Thumbs up guy. Nate passed me a beer after shift and said, "You doing okay?" I said that I don't really know what okay feels like right now. He said that when he and Jess did premarital counseling, they learned that people say I need space when they mean I need clarity, or I need to test if I can lose you. Sometimes the test hurts. For a week, I handled my corner. I rerouted rental payments, froze our joint wedding account, emailed vendors to push dates. I told our dog walker we didn't need October coverage anymore. I went to work, lifted middle-aged guys with bad backs off toilets, told 2 teenagers that the fentanyl wasn't fentanyl, it was something worse, ate vending machine chips at 3 a.m., went home to a futon. Ellie texted on Monday. Counseling? I said yes. We could do one session. She picked a woman named Tasha with a profile picture that looked like a warm cardigan. We met on Zoom because that's the world now. I was in Nate's basement with the washing machine behind me. Ellie was at our kitchen table with a mug that said, Teach, Love, Inspire. Tasha asked why we were there. Ellie spoke first. I made a mistake, she said, and my shoulders dropped because we were getting somewhere. I feel trapped by expectations, she went on. I want to be married to him, nodding at me, but I'm 28 and the idea that I'll never kiss anyone else ever felt like I was being erased inside my own life. There's no wrong feeling, Tasha said. The behavior is where we choose. I said that I understood being scared of forever because I scrape forever off sidewalks sometimes. I said I didn't want to end up being the guy who says yes and quietly resents. I said I wanted her to pick me on a Tuesday in years 5, 10, and 20 realistically, not because we had a donut wall and her grandma danced to Shania. Tasha asked Ellie why she brought the open proposal now. Ellie's face did that thing when you're about to say a name. I have a friend, she said. We flirted, and it woke up something, and it scared me, and I thought being honest was the right thing. She didn't say Ethan. She didn't have to. Tasha asked me what I needed. I said I need to not be in competition in my own house. Tasha asked Ellie what she could do to help me feel safe. Ellie said she could stop seeing Friday friends and delete numbers. I said I didn't want to police her. I just didn't want to be engaged to someone who wanted to taste test. We agreed to hit pause on wedding stuff for a month and do 3 sessions. We hung up. Ellie texted, "Thank you." I stared at it for a long time like I could hear a heartbeat inside the bubble. That Friday, on my dinner break, I went by the apartment to grab more clothes. Her shoes were kicked off by the couch. A half-eaten salad sat on the coffee table, the cheap kind you pick up after work. Her phone buzzed with a notification that lit the screen. That was fun. Same time next week? I didn't touch her phone. I didn't need to. The end of that sentence existed in my head, and whether it was trivia or a hallway kiss, the part of me that wanted to salvage us creaked. She came home 20 minutes later with that flushed, bright look people have after laughing in a bar. She froze when she saw me. I didn't know you were coming, she said, like that mattered. How was Friday Brains? I asked. Her face did a quick panic scan of the room like there might be large print evidence. It was fine, she said. My hands did that thing where they go numb when adrenaline hits. I took a breath and pointed to the notifications still glowing. I didn't say anything else. She stepped closer to look. Everything in her deflated like a slow leak. We were at trivia, she said. He walked me to my car. He kissed me. I didn't kiss back. I pulled away. I told him this was exactly why I wanted rules if we were going to open anything. Did you tell him we weren't open? I asked. I said we were paused, she said. I shouldn't have gone. I sat down. She sat across from me on the edge of the ottoman, hands clasped like prayer. I'm so sorry, she said. And I believe she was. But apologies still sit next to impact like roommates who don't talk. Do you want to be with him? I asked, because we were past euphemisms. No, she said too fast, then slower. I don't think so. It's not about him. It is at least partly about him, I said. He feels like the big unknown door. She cried. I didn't. I felt cold and very clear. I told her I was going to extend my move out. I told her I was going to take my name off the utilities. I told her I would be fair about money. I told her that I would go to one more Tasha session, but that if we were going to try again, we'd plan a much smaller wedding next year. I told her no more Friday nights. I told her she didn't get to test drive me. She nodded and nodded like a bobblehead in a storm. When I left, she texted me a screenshot where she blocked Ethan. Then she sent a paragraph about coming home to myself that felt like something from Instagram therapy. I didn't reply. I went to Nate's and held one of his twins while she hiccuped, and her tiny fingers wrapped around my thumb, and I thought we build our lives one answer at a time. No is an answer. Update 1. I didn't post the original to Reddit because I thought it was just my life, but my sister, who lives in Dayton and lurks on these subs, told me to document. It helps you not gaslight yourself when you read your own timeline, she said. So here we are. This is a week after the kiss. Ellie and I went to session 2 with Tasha. It was better and worse. Better because Ellie didn't spin. Worse because she told the truth. She admitted the kiss, the exhilaration, the guilt, and that she had looked up E&M last summer after a bachelorette trip where her friend hooked up with a bartender. I felt like I was watching the world play while I sat at the bar with a Diet Coke, she said, like a line from a story, and I wanted to tell her playing sometimes hurts like hell. But I kept quiet. Tasha asked about our sex life. Not going to put details here because modesty exists, but it was normal to repeat things to go while sued leases. SN, eyeing a forer stuff, lulls, comfort, stress. We weren't broken. We were, if anything, unintentional. Tasha said that sometimes novelty is mistaken for meaning. Sometimes boredom is mistaken for a problem when it's an invitation to pay attention. After the session, Ellie asked if we could go for a walk. We went around Schiller Park. She pointed at dogs and talked about her students' puppet show, and for 10 minutes it was like we were us last spring when we slow danced in the kitchen to a playlist with too much John Mayer. Then she turned and said, "Could you ever forgive me?" Yes, I said, because I could, but forgiveness isn't the same as forget or resume, but I might not marry you. She nodded. She didn't get mad. She just looked small, which is not a good look on people you love. We agreed to cancel the big venue. We forfeited the deposit. I ate that cost because I'm the one who signed that contract. I told my mom, and she immediately offered to get the deposit back because Barb at the bank plays bunco with the owner, which is a sentence that only happens in the Midwest. It didn't work. We lost the money. Fine. Cheaper than a divorce. The next day, Ellie texted me 3 times and then stopped. I didn't respond because I was at a call where a guy with a ladder fall taught me how fragile clavicles are. On my dinner break, I checked my phone. I made a mistake. I'm an idiot. I'm deleting Instagram. Then silence. At 9:40 p.m., she sent, "Ethan keeps texting from a new number." I told him to stop. "I'm sorry." I replied, "Block." I did. Me, okay. "Can I call you?" I stared at that line and could feel it leading to a place where I show up, soothe her, and accidentally teach her that I'm a soft place to land after she lights matches. I wanted to be kind. I also wanted to not be her emotional emergency exit, so I sent, "We can talk at our next session." It felt mean and correct. I slept badly. The next morning, the world rewarded my restraint with a flat tire and a cat bite from a feral tabby named Mr. Whiskers. The universe loves slapstick. 3 days later, Ellie's mom called me. We have an okay relationship. She's soft-spoken and always offered me extra potatoes. "She's not sleeping," she said. "She's panicking. Can you just not leave for good yet?" "I'm not gone," I said. "I'm just not on deck if she wants to play with matches." Her mom sighed. "I wish she'd told me before telling you," she said. "I could have told her that curiosity isn't a plan." I didn't say that curiosity with a name becomes a plan by default. Update 2. 2 weeks in, and I realized something important that feels so stupid to write down. I like my own company. It's not that I didn't before, but being off duty from being someone's partner freed up space in my head that used to be a shared Google Calendar. I drank coffee alone in a diner in German village and didn't scroll. I watched an old guy do a crossword. I wrote in a notebook like I wasn't a millennial. I know this reads like a rom-com montage of a man buying a single banana, but it felt good. Tasha Session 3, Ellie had a list. She wanted to return to monogamy, sincerely. She deleted numbers, screenshotted the blocks, told Friday friends she was out, and gave me her phone like a weird offering. I didn't want her phone. I wanted her to want me without me standing in front of the exit. Tasha nodded like she could clock the difference. Would you consider a smaller wedding in the spring? Ellie asked. I said that if we made it through the fall without drama and actually rebuilt trust in a way that wasn't performance, we could talk about a courthouse and tacos. She laughed and then cried. Then Tasha asked the question that popped my balloon. Ellie, if OP said yes to trying an open month, would you still want it? Ellie paused for exactly too long. I don't know, she said. We ended the session with intention, Tasha's phrase, but I walked out and my feet took me to a bench and I sat there and I looked at the little kids on the playground and my chest felt like it had a knot the size of a tangerine. I texted Nate to cover me if I wasn't talkative when I got back. He sent me a picture of his daughter in a dinosaur sleeper and wrote, "She ate lint. We're all struggling." It helped. That Friday, instead of going to the apartment or the stash or getting into some noble sadness, I drove to my sister's in Dayton. She and her wife made tacos and put on the Reds game with the sound off and asked me if I wanted to watch a garbage Netflix reality show. I met their new neighbor, a nurse named Maya, who laughed with her whole mouth open. We talked about running, which I don't do, and weird calls, which she does, and the best breakfast burrito in a 20-mile radius, which is actually at a gas station. She didn't ask about my ring finger. I didn't bring it up. We stood at the kitchen island and dipped chips and talked about how the world is a fight, and also soft sometimes. On my drive back Saturday, Ellie called. I answered because avoidance was starting to feel like its own lie. Can you come by? I cooked, she said. Her cooking is fine. I went. She made this lemon chicken thing she found on a blog. We sat, and at first we talked about light stuff, my partner's twins, her student who thinks Lincoln is alive because you can print a new president. Then she slid a folded sheet of paper across the table. I wrote a commitment plan, she said, and her eyes were earnest and it made me ache. It had bullet points: delete, block, no Friday nights, counseling monthly, date night weekly, sex twice a week. She put a smiley. I told her the list wasn't bad. It just didn't answer if she wanted what I wanted. She said, I want you, and I believe she wanted me in the moment. I still felt the tangerine knot. I told her we should take September apart. No talking outside of pre-planned sessions. No seeing each other socially. Focus on our own work. Decide in October if we still fit. She agreed. She didn't like it, but she agreed. We hugged like you hug a coworker at Christmas. I left. Update 3, September was quiet until it wasn't. 2 weeks in, a teacher from Ellie's school messaged me on Facebook. I almost never check Facebook, but my mom had tagged me in a picture of a casserole, so I was on. The message said, I'm sorry to involve myself, but this feels wrong. I don't know what Ellie has told you. Ethan is telling people he and Ellie are seeing each other casually, but intentionally. He said she's in an open thing. I thought you should know. I felt the floor tilt. I took a screenshot. I didn't reply immediately. I drove to the station, did a quick inventory of my truck like touching the real things of my life would anchor me. I stared at the screenshot again and counted to 60. Then I texted Ellie, are you seeing Ethan? She replied fast, no. He showed up at trivia. I left. I haven't seen him since. I swear. I sent the screenshot. I didn't add text. She wrote back, he's lying. I'll handle it. I told her not to. I asked for her principal's email. She sent it. I didn't use it. I sat with it for an hour like it was a very hot coal and then realized I'm not HR. I don't need to do anything at her job. I need to deal with my life. I texted her, I'm out. I said I felt stupid for believing the best and stupider for not wanting to punish her. He raised his glass. You can be fair without being a doormat. Then his daughter barfed on my shoe, and somehow that made me laugh until I cried. Next morning, I emailed vendors to cancel for real this time. I told Randy I'd be out by October 1st and asked to be removed from the lease. He said he'd list it. He also told me about a one-bedroom above a coffee shop that would open in mid-October if I wanted it. I took it, sight unseen. It faces the alley and has a weird angle in the living room. It felt perfect. I met Ellie in the park. Public place. Sunlight. We sat on separate benches like a weird movie. She said she hadn't seen him. He lies. He wants to make her look bad. He's bitter because she blocked him. I asked why he would tell coworkers they were seeing each other if there was no contact. She said he was trying to hurt her. He succeeded, I said. We're done. She grabbed my sleeve, then let go like it burned her. Please don't end my whole life over something that didn't happen, she said. I'm ending a plan that doesn't fit me, I said. You want adventure. I want a home. Maybe those aren't enemies. They just might not live in the same house. She cried and then said the thing I had been bracing for it. I think I wanted to be chosen, not just settled on. I almost laughed because she had been chosen. I'd carved out a life and put her name on it. Maybe that felt like settling to her because choosing doesn't feel like fireworks once you have it. Maybe that's the disease. Maybe I also wanted to be chosen by someone who wasn't looking over my shoulder at what was behind the exit sign. We split kindly, which felt like holding your breath underwater, calm on the surface, lungs on fire. We divided our stuff. She kept the couch because it fit for me. I took the bed because I bought it. She took the Dutch oven. I kept the skillet. We sat on the floor and ate takeout and talked about who gets the dog and hypotheticals. There was no dog. It was weird. We signed a paper. She gave me the ring back. I put it in a sock in my duffel because symbolism wasn't funny anymore. Final update. It's been 5 months. I'm writing this from the one bedroom above the coffee shop. The weird angle in the living room turned into a corner where my books lean and a little plant tries its best. I hung the print Ellie gave me, Columbus skyline, in watercolor because my life is not a bonfire and I don't need to burn every trace to prove I learned something. I didn't date for a while. I ran more. I made a grilled cheese perfect enough to call my mom. I visited my sister again and went to a fall festival with a corn maze and got lost with a bunch of teenagers who called me sir and then apologized because sir made me sound 1,000 years old. I laughed. It felt good to be a person without a plot twist. First, a simple hope you're okay. I replied, I am. She wrote good, and that was it. Second, she sent, I'm sorry for everything, truly. I know you think I did more. I didn't. I still hurt you. I hope you meet someone who wants what you want the first time. I stared at that one and then wrote back, thank you. I hope you find whatever itch this was trying to scratch, but in a way that doesn't cut you open. She sent a heart. We haven't talked since. 2 weeks ago, I went to my sister's again for her wife's birthday. Maya, the nurse, was there. We ended up on the deck with sweaters on, talking about night shift snacks and the particular silence of hospitals at 3 a.m. She told me a story about a patient who insisted his ghost had a mustache. I told her about a guy who lost his shoe on Broad Street at 2 a.m. and insisted the shoe was a person. We laughed. She asked, "What's your story?" I said, I blew up an engagement before it blew me up. She nodded like she understood and didn't pry. We ate pancakes at a diner with a waitress who calls everyone kiddo. We walked by the river where the geese act like they pay taxes. We saw a bad movie and made it better by whispering about the plot holes. I don't know if this will turn into something. I think I like that I don't feel like I'm taking a test while I talk to her. There's no exit sign flickering in my peripheral vision. That's almost meditative. I saw Ellie once in the wild. Kroger soup aisle. She had a red scarf on, the one Maya knitted for her. She smiled the way people smile when they see a person they used to share a mortgage with. We did small talk. She said her kids are obsessed with the Iditarod because they read a book about sled dogs. I told her about the old guy who knows my order at the coffee shop now and gives me his extra scone when his wife says he can't have two. We glanced at each other like you look at the house you grew up in, familiar, not home. I didn't ask about Ethan. She didn't volunteer. We said, take care, and meant it. I think about that first day with croissants and tulips and how I felt like a deer in headlights in my own kitchen. If I could talk to that version of me, I'd tell him he did fine. He didn't yell. He didn't beg. He chose himself without turning himself into a villain in his own head. He let the ring sit in a dish and didn't weaponize it. He called the landlord and remembered that paper is real. He made waffles for himself eventually and turned out okay. People will have opinions because that's the sport of this century. Some will think I should have tried the open month to prove something. Some will think I should have forgiven and kept forgiving until the situation changed. Some will say I dodged a bullet. Some will say I was uptight. I don't think any of that matters. We didn't want the same shape of love at the same time. If we had forced it, we would have put a pretty frame on a picture that made both of us small. If this helps anybody, it's okay to not be cool. It's okay to want boring Tuesday night love that feels like two bowls in a sink and no metaphor. It's okay to demand that your own chest feel peaceful when you picture your future. It's okay to say no to an adventure that requires you to split your heart like an apartment with a roommate you didn't pick. And on a small USA local note, the best pancakes in Columbus are at Nancy's Home Cooking on High. Don't argue with me. Get the bacon. Sit at the counter. If you go on a Tuesday, there's a guy who will tell you about his garden like your old friends. It's worth it. Postscript, because the internet loves closure. Ellie texted last week. Not to rekindle. She sent a picture of a thank you note from a parent that said, "Thank you for reminding my kid that mistakes don't make you unlovable." She wrote, "You helped me learn that too." I stared out my weird angled window and thought, okay, that's not nothing. If anything changes, I'll update. For now, I'm okay with Mondays. I'm okay with a coffee shop under my floor and a siren in the distance. I'm okay with saying I want monogamy without apologizing like it's a dirty word. I'm okay, and I still have a skillet. Ellie, I don't stalk her. Occasionally, the world throws you an update. One of her coworkers, not the messenger from before, started dating my friend's cousin because Columbus is a small town that pretends to be a city. Word is, Ethan transferred to a different school mid-year after parents complained about unprofessional conduct. I don't know if that's related. I don't want to assume, and I definitely don't want to gloat. People have their own paths. Sometimes they trip over their own feet. I hope he figures out why he needed to be the story in rooms that weren't about him. Ellie is dating someone. The coworker said he's a science teacher with a dog who looks like a loaf of bread. I hope he's a good man who likes Tuesday nights. That used to sting, writing that. It doesn't. It's like wishing well for a neighbor you don't see anymore. I'm not invested. I'm just nice by default again. It's a good feeling to get back. My landlord, Randy, stopped me on the stairwell last week to tell me his nephew broke up with his girlfriend because she wanted to be a swinger and I became the resident relationship guy against my will. I told him I'm not a guru. I just know my own nose now. He said that's half of yes. He's not wrong. I'll end this here so it doesn't turn into a diary about pancakes and paramedic calls. If you're in a similar spot, you're not old because you want simple. You're not boring because you want one person. And you're not cruel for ending a thing that hurts you even if it looks fine in photos. Sometimes the bravest thing is calling the landlord and getting your name off the lease. Sometimes it's deleting a contact. Sometimes it's making eggs alone and learning that they taste good when you're not trying to feed a story that isn't yours. I'm going to call my sister now and ask if she wants to go to the farmer's market. The apple lady is back with those tiny honey crisps that taste like September. I'm not in a movie. I'm just here. That's enough.